You know, it's not often that you can get a piece of gear for content creation or for podcasting and have it completely change the way that you create. Most of the time, it's little incremental upgrades, but every once in a while, you find a piece of gear that changes the game for you. And for me, the Elgato Prompter is it. I've been using a teleprompter for about 6 months now, and it has completely changed the way that I work for the better. By the way, this is not sponsored, though there are affiliate links down below that like button. I bought the Elgato Prompter with my own money, and Elgato doesn't know that I'm making this video, but if they want to sponsor something, I'd be open to it, because even if they had sent it to me and even if they had sponsored the video, I would be telling you exactly the same thing. This has become an absolutely essential part of my workflow now. And it isn't perfect, but I absolutely love this thing. So in this video, I want to talk about the things that I do love about it, a few of the nitpicks that I have with it, and a few tips and tricks that I learned that have made using this for my podcasts and videos better. If that sounds good, let's get started. But first, let's talk about why you might want to have a teleprompter. Number one, it will improve your delivery, though you have to be sure to use the teleprompter the right way. I'll talk about that later on in the video. A teleprompter will allow you to talk about things with numbers and details that might be hard to keep straight in your head. If you're making a video about something and you're looking off to the side of the screen while you talk, it's obviously that you're reading some techno babble, and it comes off like you don't know what you're talking about, but in reality you do. It's just hard to remember the ridiculous model number like the Audio Technica ATH M50X or the Shure SRH 840A, both fantastic headphones that are great for podcasting and content creation. Using a teleprompter can also help reduce your verbal fillers and pauses, although I do think it's important to keep some of those pauses in, because it makes everything feel natural. Another reason you might want to have a teleprompter is it's going to save you a ton of time. I cannot tell you how many times and how many hours and hours it has saved me in the last 6 months, but it's got to be a very significant number. Using a teleprompter has reduced the number of takes that I need to take in order to get that good take. That means my time recording has been cut significantly. Typically, for a 15-minute video, I would usually be recording for about an hour and a half in the past, and then I would cut that down. But with Prompter, a 15-minute video, I'll generally be done recording it in 30 minutes, and that's including the setup and tear down, the sound tests, and all the other stuff that you do when you're recording. Also, because you're shooting less, that means it takes less time to edit down to the good stuff. And on top of that, your file sizes are way smaller, meaning that you'll end up spending less on storage over the life of your channel. The last reason that I absolutely love using the teleprompter, because you don't forget stuff. I cannot tell you how many times I've made a video only to realize when I was done that I left out a key piece of information that I had planned on talking about, but in the moment I forgot. I just forgot to mention it. And that means that there's always like comments that I see on my YouTube videos. Well, you forgot to talk about this. And you know what? You're right. I did forget to talk about that. You know why I forgot to talk about that? Because keeping everything in your head all the time is just way too much to ask. It's just so much easier to write it down, get your script nailed, and then deliver it. Let's talk about what I love about the Elgato Prompter. Number one, setup. Setup is lightning fast for the prompter thanks to these little rings. The rings screw onto the front of your lens, and then the prompter just drops on your camera like this, and then you're all set. Like I said before, it's super lightweight. So it just hangs off the end of your lens. So which lenses is it compatible with? Well, tons of them. Most of my rings are in storage, as I only ever use 2, but it comes with tons of different sizes. So chances are, no matter which camera and lens combination that you actually use to create content, you'll be able to use the prompter with it. So you put your rings on, you attach the prompter, and you connect it to your computer with a single USB-C cord. It's important to use the cord that came with your prompter, or make sure that you have one that is at least a high-speed cord. Okay, you've got it attached. Let's talk about the software. The software is pretty great. It allows you to change the horizontal and vertical margins in order to keep the text right in the middle of the screen. This will make it so that your eyes don't do that thing where they're moving back and forth as you're reading nearly as much. You might see it a little bit, but not too much. You can adjust the scroll speed, how bright it is, as well as the fonts. The content portion of the software is where you keep your script. I personally just end up writing all of my scripts in Notion, which is free. Then when I feel like I've got it locked, I just copy and paste that script into Camera Hub. Each paragraph in the script automatically gets pasted into its own section in Camera Hub. And then you just have, you can set it to either scroll through the whole thing or auto stop at the end of a section. So what I like to do is write the most important information for a take. And then when the scrolling stops at the end of that take, it gives me a chance to decide if I want to add anything else in the moment. In this same section, you can also set the prompter to show your Twitch chat if you're streaming on Twitch, although I don't really use that as much because I don't stream on Twitch anymore. Or if you're doing a podcast, you can turn the prompter into a monitor, and then you can put the people that you're talking to on the screen that you're looking at while you're talking to them, and you'll be looking right at the camera at the same time. It's a really great way to feel more like you are having a real conversation in the real world with people that are just a few feet from you. It really changes how conversations feel, and I absolutely love it. Okay, one of the most important things is trying to look like you're not reading while you're reading. I like to build pauses into my script at specific points using ... or something like that, so that I can look off to the side while I'm thinking rather than stare into your soul the whole time. I think the hardest part of using the prompter is figuring out how to get it ready for you. You need to figure out a good distance, how big the margin should be, how fast it should scroll. Plus, depending on your camera, you might not be able to see yourself once you put the prompter on. So first you have to frame your shot, get it how you want it, get your exposure right. But then keep in mind, when you put the prompter on, the camera will tilt down just a tiny little bit. So I tend to have my camera pointed up just a little bit higher than it would otherwise be in order to compensate for the prompter. The prompter will also darken your shot a very small amount, although no one but you is going to notice it, so I don't tend to worry about that. One thing you do need to remember is that when you're writing a script, you're going to need to say the things that you're writing. It takes longer to say the word 7, for example, than it does to look at the number 7 and understand what it means. So when I write a script, I usually write out numbers. The reason for this, as I say the numbers, they're just numbers, but they will scroll by fast because they don't take up very much room on the script. But then I'm rushing to try and catch up so my script doesn't disappear off the screen. This brings me to controlling the prompter, which definitely needs some work. You can hook it up to a Stream Deck, which is great, but that's one more thing to hook up and have on my desk, and I don't really want to do that. Tom Buck has an awesome video of him using the Elgato pedals in order to control his prompter, but again, wires. Gross. I don't like wires. What I really want Elgato to make is a handheld remote that I could just hold in my hand with 3 buttons and a scroll wheel. I think I've thought about buying one of those mice for presentations, but those are always kind of janky. I don't want it to control like a mouse. I just want it to control the Elgato scrolling and software. So I can start scrolling and stop scrolling with a click. If I need to go back to a different paragraph, I can just hit page up or page down. And I can scroll with the wheel if I need to scroll back or forward just a little bit, like if I get a sentence wrong. I think that this would take the Elgato Prompter from a 9 out of 10 to an 11 out of 10 easily, because that would solve my biggest issue with it. You might look at the Elgato Prompter and think, yikes, $279. That is a lot of money, and you would not be wrong. And can you get a cheaper teleprompter? Well, the answer is yes. You can, but I think this is the one to go with for a couple of reasons. Number one, it has a built-in screen, so you don't have to use your phone as the screen for your teleprompter. I actually bought a teleprompter a few years ago. It was about $100. It was made out of metal, and I used my phone as the screen. It was cheaper for sure, but it was heavy. It was a huge pain to set up. And if I got a call mid-recording, my phone would vibrate and the damn prompter would ruin my take. I think I used it maybe 3 times before it just ended up in storage. What a waste of money. Elgato's prompter is lightweight, it has a built-in screen, it connects with a single USB cable, which it comes with, and it has all of those different rings, so it's compatible with a huge number of cameras. I am a huge fan of the Elgato Prompter, and I honestly, I don't think I could sing enough praises of it. And if Elgato just took just a few pieces of advice that I put in this video and implemented those, I think that would really take this, this device to the next level. My script already ended, so I'm kind of riffing at this point. If you want to pick up an Elgato Prompter, I do have a link down below, that like button. And since you're down there, go ahead and click like. It's free, doesn't hurt, and you can subscribe as well. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a good one, and let me know what you think.